What is the standard American diet, and what are the components of the standard American diet? How come I keep getting different answers when I look at different sources? Well, let's take a look. And I want to show you this graph is credit to Dr. Joel Furman, medical doctor, and there are actual citations at the bottom for what this graph is composed of. This is U.S. food consumption as a percentage of calories, and it's 63% processed foods, which means added fats and oils, sugars, refined grains, 25% animal foods, meat, dairy, eggs, fish, seafood, and 12% plant foods. We're going to make a note that half of that is from plant foods that are found in other processed foods like apples and apple pies. Let's take a look at this next chart, and what do we see here? How they define the standard American diet is, looks like more than 50% rice, potatoes, bread, and pasta. Looks like about a quarter from animal protein, a little tiny sliver from oils, then fruits, vegetables, and greens, maybe making up 20%. I'm not seeing dairy on this at all, and I don't see any citations. This looks like somebody who's trying to blame carbohydrates for America's health problems. This next one is different still and shows a completely different makeup of foods in the American diet, but this one is based on the availability of foods. So I'm just more confused now because this is different. Okay. So if you Google standard American diet and click on the Wikipedia page, they call it the Western pattern diet or the American standard diet, meat sweet diet. And they have a macronutrient breakdown listed here. Typical American diet is about 50% carbohydrate, 15% protein, and 35% fat. Let's see where that takes us. The citation is for Low Carbohydrate Diets, published in American Family Physician. And who would have guessed? A low-carb study. Let's see what it has to say. If you click into this study, it lists the same stats for the typical American diet, macronutrient breakdown, 50% of total calories coming from carbs, 15% protein, and 35% fat. They're calling that the typical American diet. Then they list a bunch of Atkins, low carb, sugar busters, nonsense. And at the bottom down here, they do even mention the Dean Ornish diet, which is proven to reverse heart disease at 81% carbohydrate, 15% protein, 9% fat. That's the Dean Ornish diet. The lifestyle heart trials, you can check that out. Prevent and reverse heart disease with diet. And it looks like the data from this table is adapted with permission from a different study called Popular Diets, a Scientific Review. I'm going to try to find that. Let's see what we can find. If you Google the name of the study that is referenced in the first study, you will find in the journal, a research journal, Obesity, Popular Diets, a Scientific Review. The full text is available for free. I was able to come to this through PubMed, and eventually by clicking through you can get here. And if you scroll down, what you'll find is the very same table, characteristic of diets in absolute amounts, where they're saying typical American diet, macronutrient breakdown is 35% fats, 50% carbs, 15% proteins. I'll include the link for this in the description so you guys can check it out. Here's my 2 cents on this. I don't know where they're getting the data for what their macronutrient breakdown is of the standard American diet. It doesn't say on this study that I can find. And to be honest with you, I think that the average American is probably not getting 50% of their caloric intake from carbohydrates. I bet you they're getting more protein and more fat because they're eating diets that center around meat, dairy, and eggs, processed foods, and oils rather than carbohydrates. And if we come on over and look at Dr. Greger's website, nutritionfacts.org, it says the standard American diet is high in meat, dairy, fat, sugar, as well as refined, processed, and junk foods.
Now, there is an epidemic of obesity. 2/3 of adults and 15% of kids What's really concerning to me is that diabetes has increased 70% in the past 10 years, and this may be the first generation in which our kids live a shorter lifespan than we do. That's pitiful, and it's preventable. Now, these are not election returns. These are the people, the number of people who are obese by state beginning at 85, 86, 87. These are from the CDC website, 88, 89, 90, 91. You get a new category, 92, 93, 94, 95. 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001.
There you have it, folks. Obesity rates are going up. 75% of adult males in America are overweight or obese. We're suffering from dietary-related diseases such as diabetes and heart disease. And I can't seem to find a clear definition of what the standard American diet is, what the components of the diet are made up of, how much of it is made up of meat, dairy, and eggs, and processed foods. I'm getting conflicting information, and I can only find one source for a macronutrient breakdown of the so-called typical American diet. What do you guys think? Should we have a more clear definition of the standard American diet? After all, if it's affecting our health in such a negative way, don't you think we should have a better idea of what it is? It should be more clearly and readily identifiable for the average person to find out? What do you think? Let me know.
Anyone who's on a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet is completely compromised. Weight gain, bloat, mental fog, and every disease known to man is caused by a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet. That's an absolute truth.
What?